For those who don't know me, I've been here since 1988, 29 years. I'm a faculty in the Electrical and Computer Engineering department. I still teach. In fact, yeah, tomorrow I have to miss my class because I'm going to be at the Board of Regents. But I've been provost for about 5.5 years, and since January 1, so what is that, 5 weeks now, six weeks maybe, I'm your acting president. And the reason I'm acting, by the way, a lot of people are saying, no, you're interim. No, I'm not interim, I'm acting. And the reason I'm acting is because Bob Frank remains the president, but he is on leave, so instead of him being the president, I am acting until Bob's term is up, which is June or July, I'm not sure. Yeah. You know, I'm not, what I wanted to do when I was asked by the regents to step in, I said I have 3 things I want to make sure we keep in mind. One is we made a lot of strides in our student success, in our academic mission. I don't want to lose sight of that. I want to keep the focus on that as much as possible. So regardless of who is in the president's office, I think a lot of the stuff that are being done, a lot of the initiatives that are being conducted by people on the ground, faculty, staff, a lot of the students and administrators need to continue. We need to strengthen those. And then there are 2 other issues that I think are really of concern to many of them. One is what I call the campus climate and what's happening both across the U.S. but also at our university. You know, these decisions that sometimes I have to take or people have to take at the different levels are not black and white. I think a lot about them, and I've been thinking about how to keep the campus climate vibrant, but at the same time to be able to have discussions so that everybody can be heard and different points of view can be made to up the chain of command. I think there's a loss or a lack of trust for many reasons, you know, across the different levels between faculty and administration, between staff and sometimes the faculty, between students and board, between, you know, a lot of different issues that we need. They're difficult issues that we need to address. And what I promised the regents is I won't surprise them, I won't lie to them, but I will pass on a few of the things that you know, I hear or I know about, but at the same time, I will also explain why certain decisions were made. That's something I can't do alone. I'm just one person who's trying to basically do the best I can in order to make sure that all points of view can be heard. And I do mean within the university, but also the national dialogue right now that's taking place around issues that have to do with social justice, with immigration, with First Amendment, with a lot of different things that I don't know where you stand on it one way or the other. I feel or I know that the university should be a place where we can have these discussions rather than a place where we can say, okay, you know, we can't have them or we should you know, punt them. And last but not least, I think it's the financial situation of the university. And this has been going on for the last few years. I'm trying my best to work with the legislators in Santa Fe. I'm trying my best to work with the regents. And this is where the trust currency becomes important, because if we are able to work to present to the legislators, to the governor, to the regents for that matter, a united set of priorities and try to describe where we need to be, I think it would be a lot better for us than if we were on different sides on every issue around the financial situation. It's not a good time for the state. It's not probably going to be a fun time in the next few months, couple of months. As you know, we're in the middle of the session in Santa Fe. Right now, we hear anything from, you know, cut 1% to, you know, higher education to probably more than that. So our job, you know, my job and the administrators who are spending time up there is to make sure both the legislators know the importance of or how much these cuts are going to hurt this year on top of the cuts that we had in the previous years, but more importantly, to make sure that we minimize the effect on UNM as much as possible. Those are my 3 priorities. I'll probably be in this position for 6 months or so. The search is going on. If you're not aware of it, there's a search, national search, and hopefully there will be someone who can come in to a place where the conversation or where the climate of the university is one of let's try to move forward versus still discussing some of the issues that I think have a lot of impact on all of us. That's what I have to say. If you want to ask questions, I'll answer. If you don't want to ask questions, I'll go and have lunch.
Hi, thank you for being here. I'm Sarah Nezer. I was really pleased to hear you mention that there is sometimes discord in the relationship between students, staff, faculty, and how we communicate with each other and the messages we tell each other. And I think that the financial crisis we've had at UNM and abroad has kind of exacerbated that conversation. And I was wondering, in regards to that issue, kind of what the plan is to improve that dialogue and improve trust.
Great question, and I don't think you meant you're pleased that we had that we have the lack of trust, but that I'm aware of it or that I'm mentioning. Yeah. So let me say a few things about that. So when I was in the provost office, we started a lot of these discussions and forums, and we knew it was going to happen maybe a year and a half or 2 years ago when we started seeing what's happening elsewhere. So there are few people from the offices or who report to academic affairs. There's Virginia Scharf, the associate provost for faculty affairs, who's been leading some of these discussions, bringing people to campus and having some conversations. There's Josie DeLeon in her office, Division of Equity and Inclusion. There's Cheo Torres, whose office also under that we have student services. There's Tim Gutierrez, who many of the student services groups report to, and different groups are leading different conversations and different meetings to try to educate. Now, there's always 2 aspects to this. One is the education, but the other one is when something happens, what do we do about it? What do we do about the things that are happening today? Versus we want to predict or we want to protect people from things in the future. Both of those are important. So we have a lot of processes in place that sometimes they don't catch something. Somebody does something or the conversation gets out of hand and we need to go back and fix it. So by the way, there are also a lot of faculty who are engaged at different levels in this conversation. There may be specific things you're interested in, but I'll call attention to one at least. A lot of people are concerned, and rightfully so, about what happens to our undocumented students. We have many of them, and we have resources that are being made available to them, both from the education point of view as well as from the legal and other points of view. So all of those things are happening, you may not know about it if you're not in that, if you're not either an advocate or somebody who is in need of those. But we learn from those and we watch what other places are doing. We learn from them. We communicate with other universities and so on. The whole point of this is this is not something that only UNM is going through. This issue of lack of trust in the institution and universities in general. And people saying, well, you have a bloated administration, for example. That's a typical thing. And if you look at it, in some cases, the administration is bigger than it used to be. A lot of the reasons why some of the administration is bloated have to do with a lot of the things that we have to do that we didn't have to do 10, 15, 5 years ago, including things that are, we want to do. So a lot of this discussion around how do we reestablish trust begins by having things like this to say, okay, I don't have all the answers, but you may come to this meeting and you think, you don't know me, you may have heard that I made one decision that somebody disagrees with, and you think, okay, well, he's a bad person, or if you like it, maybe you'll say, well, he's a great person. Well, reality is somewhere in between, right? I make a lot of decisions, or people in these positions at different levels make a lot of decisions, not because they're trying to hurt somebody, but they may have In most cases, they may have either more data or less freedom to make the decisions, that you think we're doing. So the one thing I keep asking everybody is like, listen to the other side, listen to it. I don't know how we're going to get out of the budget thing. That's why I requested from faculty and from others to start the conversation around re-engineering the university. People, last week we had somebody come in from UC Boulder to describe how they did some of the things at UC Boulder. And the faculty, the Committee on Governance was doing that. Now, these discussions are going to have to take place for the next year and a half until we come up with a plan that the University of New Mexico can look at into the future. But we can't have this conversation by shouting at each other or by saying, you cut this and you should have cut that, because that's really not very productive to move forward.
Hello, thank you for doing this. I think it's very responsive and transparent to be doing these town halls, and I as a student appreciate it. I think you touched on this a little bit in your last answer, but on Thursday, the Legislative Finance Committee is going to be presenting the revenue forecast for the state.
Correct.
We're concerned at UNM about how it's going to affect us, and
right.
And how these significant cuts to higher education are going to affect us. And I, as a student, just really I'm wondering if you or your team have evaluated the true impact that this session's
right.
cuts are going to affect UNM. Thank you.
Well, great. Thank you for that question. So you may have heard me say this before, but let me give you the big picture about the budget. The budget of the university is about $2.8 billion. But most of that, 1.2 to 1.3 to 1.4, is actually the hospital. So really, you take that out, and then you take out the Health Sciences Center. And the reason you take the Health Sciences, the academic programs, this is the School of Medicine, the College of Pharmacy, and Nursing, Colleges of Pharmacy, and now the College of Population Health. You take those out because a lot of the money that they generate too, or that they spend, is self-generated. So what you're left with is about $800 million for the university. So this is, and out of that, about $330 million is really the main core mission, $330 million. Now it sounds like a lot of money if you're a person, but to run a university with $330 million when you have almost 30,000 students and tens of thousands of employees is not a lot. Out of that, about $200 million comes from the state and about 130 or so, rough numbers, comes from tuition. That's where the money is. So if the state doesn't give us 1%, or they cut us by 1%, that's technically $20 million. Okay, that's what we need to worry about. Okay? I'm sorry, what did I say? Yeah, 2 million. I'm sorry, 2 million. 2 million. That's, I should be better at doing public algebra, but I'm not. So 2 million. Now, the problem is last year we had 5% down on top of 2%. So that's right there, that was 7, 8, 10 million, and then another one before, about 4 million and so on. The problem is not the 1%. If it is 1%, we'll declare, that, okay, we escaped this year and we're okay and we can live to fight another day. The problem is we are now to the level where we are, not just the University of Mexico, but others are cutting programs and having to stop doing things that we must do. Now, we have evaluated this. We made the case both as University of New Mexico, but also as part of the consortium, the Council of University Presidents, which is the seven universities that are band together. These are the 3 research institutions and the other 4 comprehensives. But then we also have done it as a higher education community. We have about 30 some institutions of higher education in this state. And all together we're making that. But imagine you're now, put yourself in the shoes of the legislators or of the governor. You have this budget and you have you have to cut. You have to cut something because you don't have your revenues do not match your expenditure, or your expenditures have increased beyond your revenues. And you got all of these people coming to you from higher ed to K through 12 to oil and gas, to businesses, to the roads, to everybody. Everybody is coming to you and saying, "Don't cut me, cut her." That's what's happening. So we make our case, And by the way, frankly, and this is the open, dirty secret, is that across the U.S., higher education had suffered more since the recession, exactly because they know there's tuition. Exactly, because they cannot say to the public safety, they cannot say, well, just charge people for the services you provide. So what they have been doing across the U.S., this is not just at the University of New Mexico or the state of New Mexico, is that they're able, if they need to cut 1%, they may cut higher at 2 or 3% or 4% because they know there's the tuition. But then they say don't raise tuition, which is again, a fair thing from the parents and the students' point of view. But frankly, tuition is basically the only other place where we can if they cut us. So what are we doing about it? Well, we're advocating so that they don't cut us. We're advocating so that they can keep us, we ask for increase, that's not gonna happen, right? We ask, okay, we need 2% increase, that's not gonna happen. But we put some budgets together and so on. And then we see, okay, we fight for every penny of that. Do we know exactly how it's going to filter down? No, I know what's going to happen is if it comes down as 1%, then when I was a provost, I got a bill from the president to say this is what corresponds, this is 1%, or actually we try to protect the academics, so maybe the academic affairs will get 0.75, let's say 3/4, let's say this is the number. Then I go to the deans and I say, okay, here's what you have to come up with, sorry. And then we look at either reserves, we look at not filling positions, and this is what it's starting to hurt. What it's starting to hurt is that, programs or positions that are not being filled. Now, again, you can do it for a year, you can do it for 2 years, but we're in the 3rd or 4th year that we're doing that. How are we gonna survive it? We're just gonna buckle down and make sure that we have a better plan going forward. I think there are 2 ways to do this. One is, I think we squeezed every single possible thing under our current structure. We may have to re-engineer the university or universities in a different way than we have today, including things that we're doing currently, but maybe do it at a bigger scale. Things like, service centers, things like maybe merging some back office things, maybe buying things in bulk versus having departments buy certain things. I mean, a lot of these things that you can do, that'll probably squeeze maybe another 1-2%, I'm not sure, of the maybe 5 million savings across. But that doesn't do it. That doesn't do it. We really have to look for new revenues. And that's what I kept saying before. This is what this conversation with the faculty around re-engineering or prioritizing and so on, this is what it's about, is that universities cannot continue to do the same or more, because we are doing more. We are doing, things that we didn't have to pay for before. Our legal office got bigger. Why is that? Well, we have a lot more legal questions, legal issues, both from the point of view of employment law to everything else. Our compliance offices got bigger. Why? Well, federal mandates and problems that we're having internally. We need to fix them. We have a lot more advisors than we used to have. Why do we have that? Well, again, we have a different, we used to not care if students made it or not. They come in, they leave, that's fine. We get a new group. That's not the case anymore. So all of these things have added to the basic cost of doing business at the same time that we're cutting at the top. So we're not adding to it. And of course, benefits is the big one that keeps increasing on us, on the employees, but also on the university. So it can't be that we're just going to survive on 1%. Let's say the state next year, they're flush with oil money or whatever it is. At best, they'll give us 5%. That doesn't even begin to address what the cuts have been, because every year we're falling behind by 2 or 3% on top of the cuts, because inflation or other things are taking away from that. So we'll need something today. This year we'll need 10% tuition in order to stay in place. We're not going to get 10% tuition, right? I mean, we'll need from the state something like, to go back up by 10% every year for maybe 3 years. We're not going to get that. So that's why I'm saying we need to look for other revenues and other ways of doing business. How we get there is not, again, I don't have an answer. I have models that other universities are struggling or trying to get, with the exception of the top universities that have a large endowment. Everybody else, from Berkeley to the smallest liberal arts colleges, public universities, are dealing with this issue. Every single one of them, and we keep we keep saying, okay, we're going to kick it one more year down the road. I think the time has come to pay the piper, and we need to make a decision on how we're going to do. Maybe if we, not maybe. If we're starting right now, we'll probably have a year to a year and a half to institute a plan that talks to different people, get the inputs and so on, and then say this is what we're going to do for the next 5, 10, 25 years.
First of all, I don't envy your job, and I appreciate your.
What's your job?
I do IT.
Oh, maybe we can trade.
Yeah. Yeah, as long as I'm sort of in the same position in a way. As long as things work, I don't exist.
That's right. Exactly.
Anyway, we live in a culture of intolerance for opposing viewpoints, and traditionally colleges have been not that. I mean, it's been open for discussions, and people are free to disagree and support their points. And I just appreciate how you've been a calming influence in the campus environment over the last few months, because it's, as you know, it's been especially raucous over the last election cycle. So I appreciate that. Just one question. Obviously, with the session in progress, there are a lot of unknown things that will be known in the next month or two.
Yeah.
So will you be having another town hall after all the numbers are in and the plan is in place?
Right. So thank you, first of all, about appreciating the magnitude of the position. So let me say something first about the second part, and then I want to address the first part, because I think that goes back to the question of climate and campus relations and so on. So yes, we'll have, the more we get information, and as soon as we get it, we'll disseminate it in multiple ways, through, we present in different ways, but yes, I will be more than happy to have conversations or to come back and say, this is where we are today, here's what we're thinking about, and so on. There is, by the way, a group that's called the Budget Leadership Team, and that has representation from across this university, main campus and the health sciences, that is working on proposing, and they're monitoring all of these external forces that we don't control, but we need to get some information on. So they're getting this information, this budget leadership team. There's some people I see in the audience who are, if you're on the BLT, maybe you can raise your hand. Some people, yeah. So see, we have students, we have administrators, we have faculty, we have others, staff, and so on and so forth. This group is looking at the different scenarios, different models, and so on and so forth. But the answer is yes. Now, on the first part, so this issue of the campus being a place where you can have different opinions is very personal to me. I think I wrote about it in a couple of times, is that, so I grew up in a place where at one time I could not speak what I wanted to speak outside of my immediate family, because I was afraid if somebody else would hear it outside, with different opinions, different political persuasion. I could get hurt, I could get killed at some point, It got to the point where it gets, and it didn't happen overnight. It started almost like what's happening here. It used to be you can say anything. You could meet in various places and so on. And then, I remember distinctly the day where people in high school started punching each other versus arguing. And then they got to the point outside where they started pulling guns on each other versus arguing, and then it became a civil war. I'm not saying it will happen here. I pray to God, and I know we're not there. But I think the whole point about this issue is very personal, because I do feel like, some of the protections that we enjoy in the United States are things that if you have not lost them, if you never grew up without them, you don't know how precious they are. At the same time, I feel like there is a level of frustration and of people who are scared. They come and tell me, somebody said this to me or did this to me. And when we investigate it and we find out there is a reason to do this, we have some processes and regulations and so on to punish or to take care of that. But I think the level of where that line should be is what we're debating a lot of times. And as long as we're debating it, as long as we're having this conversation, as long as where people of different persuasions can sit across a table or, they can argue in the sub and so on, that's great. That's what the university is about. You can convince somebody, or if you're not convinced, you walk away. When it becomes a part of, okay, you're evil because you don't agree with me, or you're wrong on so many levels because I don't agree with you on this one issue, that's when I think we're abdicating our responsibility as a university and as a society. Finally, I tell people these days is that giving up on the First Amendment is tantamount today to self-disarming. You're self-disarming. This is your one weapon today in case you don't agree with those in power, be it the president of the university or be it the president of the United States. So don't give up on that. That's the one thing that you wanna protect for you, but also for the other person that you disagree with, because tomorrow you may be in the other position and you don't know that until it happens. So if you can propagate that for those of you who agree, and for those who don't agree with me, I'd be more than happy to argue and to tell you why it's, I feel like this. But I think if you propagate that, because we do have a lot of raw emotions these days, sometimes very justified. Somebody who got threatened or got in a class or elsewhere, they did something to make them feel that, they're not welcome or whatever. I think they do feel that you should stop them from saying that to me. But I think that's the wrong message to present as a university. Now, as individuals, people can have anything they want. They can say, you can't say this to me, or you can disagree and do whatever you want. But as an organization, as a university, and somebody who is in some kind of a responsibility and power, I think that is so un-American in my judgment, as somebody who came here when I was 18, and I was amazed that I could disagree with people and not have to worry about it anymore. So that's very precious, and I hope we keep it. I hope we protect it. Nothing else? I'm going to have one on the health sciences. Maybe you can think of things and go to the health sciences if you want to do that. But if you want to, you can always email me. It's my first name at unm.edu or unmprez@unm.edu. I try to answer my emails. Don't write too long though. If it's too long, I'm sorry. It's not that I don't enjoy it, but it just gets. But if you have something you want to ask and you want to do it on an individual basis, I would appreciate it. And in the meantime, go and tell your friends if they want to come to the next one, or tell them that if they have any ideas of how to solve any of these problems, then they're welcome to send us something. I did last time when we had our town hall. We got a lot of interesting suggestions about doing something with the budget, and they're being discussed in part as part of the budget leadership team. So, okay, well, thank you so much. Appreciate it.